A quick heads up. This Lit Snippets episode contains some spoilers, so please listen at your own risk. All right, so get ready to dive into Richard Osman's We Solve Murders with us.
We're going beyond just the basic plot points here, really trying to unpack this intricate mystery.
It's not going to be your average book club discussion, that's for sure.
No, we're talking about the stuff that really makes you tick as a reader, those little details and nuances that Osman layers so expertly into his writing.
Exactly. And trust me, there are layers upon layers here.
Oh, absolutely. Like a perfectly crafted kick, except instead of sugar and spice, we've got intrigue and deception.
And a dash of international crime for good measure.
Can't forget that. But that's jumping ahead a bit. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? With a death, as these things often do.
Right. The death, or should we say the supposed accidental drowning of one Mr. Andrew Fairbanks, a.k.a. the tragic Instagram influencer.
And this is where things get really interesting, because right off the bat, Osman throws a curveball.
Yeah, you think you're reading about an open and shut case, but then he introduces Amy Wheeler, Fairbanks' bodyguard at the time.
And suddenly you've got this whole other layer of perspective, this insider's view, which makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Especially when Amy starts receiving those cryptic messages from her old colleague, Jeff.
Ah, yes, Jeff, the mysterious messenger who seems to know more than he's letting on.
And those hints he drops about a possible connection between Fairbanks' death and two other influencer murders. I mean, talk about a game changer.
Right. It's like Osman is inviting us to connect the dots, but then he keeps moving the dots just when you think you're getting close.
And just to make things a little more complicated, Amy realizes she was actually near each of the murder scenes when those incidents happened.
Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It really makes you wonder if she's being set up as the fall guy, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, Jeff mentions this shadowy figure known only as Joe Blow.
Ah, yes, Joe Blow, the quintessential boogeyman, but in this case, a boogeyman pulling the strings from the shadows.
It's like he's everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole thing so unsettling, the idea that someone is orchestrating these events without revealing their hand.
It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing and the other half constantly shifting.
But speaking of puzzles, let's not forget about Steve, our resident puzzle solver, or should I say, retired detective extraordinaire.
He's not your typical investigator, that's for sure. Instead of rushing to the crime scene, he's meticulously examining the agency that booked Fairbanks' fateful trip.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most crucial clues aren't found at the scene of the crime, but rather in the seemingly mundane details surrounding it.
And boy, does Steve know how to uncover those details. So Steve's on this trail, right, digging into this travel agency, and it turns out...
It's never just a travel agency, is it?
Never. And this one's got a connection to Max Highfield.
Max Highfield, the action star.
The one and only. I mean, what's an international action star got to do with any of this? It just doesn't add up.
That's what Osman does so well, though. He takes these little threads, these seemingly unrelated details,
And weaves them together?
Exactly. And suddenly you've got this intricate tapestry of... Yes. And you start to question, like, is anyone who they seem to be?
Right. Like maybe your mailman is secretly an international art thief or something.
You never know.
Okay, but speaking of unexpected turns, let's get back to Amy.
Oh, yes, Amy, our bodyguard on the run.
On the run and way over her head.
But she's not alone. She's got Rosie D'Antonio on her side.
The novelist.
Yep. Turns out she's more resourceful than she looks.
Who knew writing best-selling thrillers could prepare you for the real deal, right?
Right. Maybe she's got some insider knowledge,
That's what I'm thinking. And together they uncover something huge.
What is it?
The sheriff investigating Fairbanks' death, he's dirty. Like really dirty.
Oh, no. You mean?
Yep, he skimmed some of the money from the crime scene.
Wow, talk about a betrayal of trust.
You can say that again?
So, while Amy's uncovering corruption in South Carolina, Steve's off to sunnier destinations. Dubai, to be exact.
For the Diamond Conference? I mean, the name says it all right.
Glitz, glamour.
And probably a whole lot of secrets being traded under the table.
Sounds about right. And I bet that's where our friend Steve comes in.
He's got a knack for sniffing those secrets out, doesn't he?
Like a bloodhound on the trail.
And who does he bump into amidst all those diamonds and high rollers? Mickey Moody, a seemingly harmless retiree who just happens to have some very interesting connections.
Oh, like what kind of connections?
Let's just say Mickey knows people who know people, if you catch my drift.
I think I do. So we've got a corrupt sheriff, a mysterious retiree, and a whole lot of unanswered questions.
And just when you think it can't get any more complicated, Steve has a breakthrough.
A breakthrough. Tell me everything.
But you're not going to believe where it happens.
Where?
A sauna. A sauna. Can you imagine? It's like the least likely place to have a stroke of genius.
And yet it happens. It's those unexpected moments, right? When your mind is relaxed and those connections just click into place.
And boy, do they click into place for Steve. He realizes that Mickey Moody, our diamond-loving retiree, is actually the elusive Francois Loubet.
The criminal mastermind everyone's been after. Now that's a twist I didn't see coming.
Nobody did. He was hiding in plain sight, enjoying his golf and his lavish lifestyle.
It's a classic case of keeping your enemies closer.
Right under everyone's noses.
But while Steve's busy connecting the dots in Dubai, Amy's got her own problems to deal with.
What's she up against now?
Remember Eddie, the hitman who's been on her tail?
Oh yeah, I'd almost forgotten about him. Well, he hasn't forgotten about Amy. He finally catches up to her in Dubai.
This doesn't bode well for Amy.
Not at all. But this is Amy Wheeler we're talking about. She's not going down without a fight.
She's one tough cookie, that's for sure.
But Eddie's a formidable opponent. It's a tense standoff, a real battle of wits and willpower.
And how does it all end?
You'll have to read the book to find out. But let's just say justice is served, though maybe not in the way you might expect.
Osman always keeps us on our toes, doesn't he? Never a dull moment.
Not a single one. But you know what really gets me about this whole story? It makes you think, like, how well can you ever truly know anyone? I mean, this unassuming retiree turned out to be a criminal mastermind.
It's a good reminder that appearances can be deceiving. We create these narratives about people based on limited information, and sometimes those narratives couldn't be further from the truth.
And that's the beauty of a well-crafted mystery, like we solve murders. It's not just about finding out whodunit, but also about unraveling the layers of deception, the hidden motivations, and the complex web of relationships that drive the story.
It's a journey of discovery, not just for the characters, but for us readers as well.
Exactly. And sometimes the most satisfying part of that journey isn't reaching the destination, but rather savoring those moments of realization, those aha moments that make you question everything you felt you knew.
And Osman is a master at crafting those moments, leaving us both entertained and intellectually stimulated, which is a rare and wonderful combination to find in a book, or should I say a deep dive.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the complexities of this case. Remember, sometimes the most ordinary facades hide the most extraordinary secrets.